They thought I'd break, that I'd just crumble when those yellow bulldozers started rolling up the drive, crawling toward my old barn like a line of ants, hauling secrets and lies, all of it weighing heavy in the summer heat. I remember it clear as yesterday, 3 guys in cheap suits, government ID tags clipped on like little badges of arrogance, pointing at my land like they'd just drawn it up on a map and called it theirs. The lead guy, Steve, with a voice slick as motor oil, barked into his walkie and grinned like he was starring in some backyard demolition derby. Behind him, the other 2 laughed and slapped hands like kicking a man out of his own home was just another Tuesday. "You're trespassing on public land," Steve shouted, like I was the criminal. "You need to vacate before demolition begins." I stood there in my boots dust, sticking to my jeans. The original deed in my hand yellowed at the edges, older than any of their tract houses or Starbucks. My heart thudding so loud I thought maybe they'd hear it and realize I wasn't running. This ranch had been mine, my family's, for nearly a century, and I wasn't about to get scared off by a suit who couldn't tell a shovel from a shoehorn. But none of that mattered now. The HOA had filed a report, said my land was abandoned government property, and the county somehow just bought it. They were here to take everything. I didn't yell, didn't plead. Just reached in my back pocket, thumbed my phone, and hit that big red button I'd been saving for weeks. Suddenly the buzzing in the air changed, not from the bulldozers, but from above. A black helicopter swooped down low, rotor wash, flattening the grass, knocking Steve's clipboard right out of his hands. Then came the SUVs rolling up the back road, men in black uniforms spilling out all badges, no smiles. One of them stepped up, looked Steve dead in the eye, and said, "Step away from the property. You're under federal investigation." You should have seen Steve's face, jaw swinging open like a busted gate. And that's when Sharon, the HOA president, who'd been lurking in her car, bolted out, screeching, "What is going on?" This was supposed to be easy. I turned calm as a pond and said, "Shouldn't have forged federal documents." And right then she did what no one expected. She called 911 on me. Yeah, that happened. But it was already too late. The train had left the station. Let me back up a sec, because none of this started with helicopters or fraud. It started with blueberry muffins. 3 months before demolition day, I'd walked into town with a warm box for the new neighbors, James and Nicole, hoping a little kindness would go a long way. I'm old-fashioned that way, friendly, quiet. The ranch sat on 40 acres of rolling hills, nothing fancy but honest. My parents raised horses. My granddad planted pecans. I was just trying to keep it from falling apart after they were gone. I introduced myself, offered up muffins, and you'd think I'd handed them a bag of dirt. Nicole smiled polite enough, but didn't take a bite. James just stared at me like I'd crawled out from under a rock. "Oh, that land over there," he said. "We heard it was county-owned or something, abandoned." I just laughed. Abandoned. Been in my family since 1923. They didn't laugh back. A couple weeks later, I get my first HOA letter. "Dear occupant, you are in violation of Regulation 7B, unauthorized structures." I figured it was a mistake, tossed it in the fire. Then came the second letter, then the third, and then a final warning with an eviction date. I drove to the HOA office and asked to see who was in charge. That's when I met Sharon. Mid-50s power suit, folder of rules in one hand and a death grip on her iced coffee with the other. I told her it was a misunderstanding, showed her my deed. She didn't even look, just smirked and said, "Well, the system doesn't show your name anymore. That land was recently transferred." "To who?" I asked. She flipped her folder, didn't even blink. "The HOA." I nearly laughed in her face. "You're telling me the HOA stole my land?" Her lips curled. "Remove your structures in 30 days or we will." That night I called Ava, my oldest friend and a real estate lawyer in the city. Sharp, stubborn, the kind of person who won't let go once she's got a thread in her teeth. Ava went through my paperwork and said, "Your deed's real, but someone filed a counter deed, claimed the land reverted to the state after a tax error 5 years ago." "But I paid my taxes," I said. "I know," she replied. "I've got your receipts. Someone's lying, and it goes deep." So we dug. Late nights, endless county records, paper trails that twisted like snakes in the grass. Turns out my land had been marked inactive because of a glitch, and the HOA, like wolves, pounced, filed a false claim, used forged signatures, bought it for $1, at a closed-door meeting. This is fraud. Ava said, if we blow this up, we take down their whole operation. I felt sick, but also furious. They weren't just stealing my land, they were erasing my family's name. So I stopped being polite. Hired a surveyor, filed a quiet title action, tipped off the media, called state agencies. Ava worked her network pretty soon. Federal eyes were watching. The HOA caught wind and sent trucks to patrol past my house every night, set up orange flags in my pasture, nailed a notice to my barn door. This structure will be removed by county order, vacate immediately. I called the number on the notice. The woman said it was final. My appeal rejected. Thing is, I never filed one. I knew I needed to go bigger. Called in a favor from an old friend at the Department of Interior owed me from years back. I think this HOA is laundering land, I said. He got me a meeting with a regional investigator. They opened a probe, silent as shadows. And while the HOA planned their big demolition day thinking I was all alone, I was building a trap of my own, not just to stop a lie, but to expose it. So when the helicopter landed, when federal agents stepped out and Sharon panicked and called 911, that was just the first act. The sirens wailed down the dusty road, sheriff's deputies skidding up red and blue lights splashing across the barn. Sharon in her Sunday best stood at the entrance, waving her phone like a weapon, yelling, "He's threatening us. He's got strangers on the property, armed men and helicopters. He's dangerous." Steve, the HOA lawyer, sweated through his shirt. Sheriff Tom Dugan stepped out, sunglasses, low hand resting near his belt. He knew me, knew my dad. Not friends, not enemies, just neighbors. "Morning, Henry," he said. "Morning, Sheriff. Want to see my deed before you arrest me?" He raised an eyebrow. "They say you brought in feds." "Didn't bring anybody." "Tom, they came on their own." Agent Ramirez, federal badge flashing, stepped forward. "Sheriff Dugan, we've been investigating fraudulent land acquisitions." "Mr. Collins is cooperating?" The sheriff blinked eyes, darted to Sharon, who clammed up quick. "And these folks," he asked, nodding to the HOA. "We have reason to believe they submitted forged documents. You'll want to keep them on site for questioning." That's when Sharon snapped, shouting, "You can't do this! We followed the law!" Steve, voice shaking, piped up. "We were just helping the community. That ranch is an eyesore." I nearly laughed. "You think my great-granddad's house is an eyesore?" Dead silence. Then a black SUV rolled up, woman in a gray pantsuit, brown file folder. She strode over, pulled a subpoena, and handed it straight to Sharon. "You're served by the Federal Land Commission. You could have heard a pin drop." But just as the relief set in, James. "Yeah, that James." The neighbor appeared, arms folded. Fake smile. "You made a lot of noise, Henry," he said. "But this isn't a place where truth matters. People listen to power, and we've got plenty." I stared him down. "Better hire a lawyer," I said, because Ava had just filed a civil suit against all of them. But the real beginning, it wasn't James or muffins or the HOA letters. It was when the county announced a development project, a luxury golf resort next door. At first I didn't care. I liked my quiet life, horses, chickens, peace. But after that announcement, the offers started. Big money, slick realtors, crazy numbers. I turned them all down. That's when the pressure ramped up. Cars parked by my fence, drones, overhead mailbox smashed 3 times in a month, and then one morning a dead rooster laid out by my driveway. No blood, no tracks, just a message. Ava came by, saw it, said, "They're trying to scare you." "I'm not scared. I'm angry," I told her. "Good," she said, "let's use that." We cataloged everything, every letter, every visit, every oddity. Turns out the HOA had a history of shaking down families, flipping land for pennies, pressuring old folks to sign away property rights. This wasn't a neighborhood group, it was a business, a racket. But knowing and proving are 2 different things. So we called in the feds quiet-like. They set up cameras, planted an undercover at HOA meetings, pulled bank records, even hacked their private server. What they found made me sick. Emails where Sharon talked about shifting zoning to create a paper trail that works in our favor. One email had my name in the subject line. Then the agents went dark, no word for a week. I thought we'd lost. But when the helicopter showed up, I knew the tide had turned. The sirens faded. Half the HOA was being questioned behind my barn, but just as I started to breathe, a crack rang out like a gunshot. Smoke rising from the south field. My barn burning. Someone had set it on fire. I ran boots pounding, dirt lungs burning, not caring about subpoenas or politics. That barn held everything: my grandfather's saddle, my mother's ledgers, every photo, every tool from the 1920s. The heat slapped me back, smoke blinding me, but I tried to get in. Sheriff Dugan and a federal agent grabbed me. "Don't be stupid, Collins. You'll die in there. There's stuff in there my family's whole life. You're still alive. Don't give them everything." That's when I knew this was arson, an attempt to erase my legacy. Ava found me, voice shaking with fury. "They're trying to destroy the evidence." By the time the fire was out, the barn was just bones and ash. The land was protected now, but the fight wasn't over. That night, Ava handed me coffee on the porch, her eyes hard. "Think it was James?" I asked. She nodded. "Or someone working for him. But I installed a trail cam by the south gate just in case." We checked the footage, 4:23 a.m. Headlights, a man in a hoodie, gas can in hand. He lit it, walked off the camera, catching his face in the firelight. James. Clear as day. We sent it to the feds, arrest warrant issued by noon. Nicole posted bail that afternoon. News spread like wildfire, but the attacks didn't stop. Rocks through windows, red X's spray painted on utility poles, county-approved evacuation and demolition signs at the town entrance. My truck died mysteriously, footsteps in the woods, a hand on the window, a voice whispering, "You've made powerful enemies, Henry." I didn't even see the guy's face, but I knew he wasn't local. This was bigger than an HOA. Ava was attacked outside the diner, shoved, threatened, warned to drop the suit. "He had a real badge," she said, lip bleeding. "Not James. Someone new, someone serious." That's when we knew this went higher. County officials, developers, maybe even state offices. So we took it public. Ava posted a video, laid it all out, the lies, the threats, the fire, the footage, the phone calls. Within hours, it was everywhere. Local news, national outlets, neighbors who'd avoided me for years called with apologies, confessions, stories of being tricked, pressured, sued. The town woke up, but the development company fired back, filed an emergency injunction, accused me of defamation, tried to gag us. The courthouse set a hearing, 72 hours, to decide if I'd lose everything for speaking out. But before that, a knock at the door. Sheriff Dugan, serious. "3 state officials here for you," he said. They handed me an eminent domain order. "Your ranch is now part of a public infrastructure project." It was a setup, forged signatures, fast-tracked paperwork. "This isn't personal, it's business," Brent Holloway, the state official, told me. "Funny," Ava cut in, recording everything because this business burned our barn. Brent threatened, "We're enforcing the order." But we had him on tape. Posted it online, and the town rallied 100 people at my gate holding signs, making noise. Suddenly, the development company's name was mud. The HOA board tried to resign, but it was too late. Then a mysterious email, a Dropbox folder, original surveys, phone call recordings, documents connecting Sharon and Brent. Another message. "Midnight, old grain mill. Bring no one." We went. Found Walter, a scared old county clerk who admitted he filed the fake transfer, backdated logs for a payout. "They're burning barns, hurting women. I can't keep quiet." He handed us a USB, every deal, bribe, and digital signature. We backed it up, sent it to the news and feds. I thought it was over. Then came the explosion, the county courthouse leveled, all paper records gone. Brent Holloway survived barely. Agent Ramirez met us at the chaos. "Someone wanted the records gone, but we've got your data. We'll fast-track this." But the threats kept coming. "Sell now or watch what comes next," duct taped to my chicken coop. Federal agent stationed at the ranch. Then a new lawsuit, this time from a foreign development firm, Sunset Properties International, claiming they owned half my land. Ava found the judge on the case had financial ties to the firm. They were rigging the system, trying to flood the courts. Walter messaged again. "Meet me at the chapel. Bring no one." He handed us the master file blueprints for a 20-year land laundering scheme, dozens of properties, judges, HOA members, state officials, all on the take. Just as we turned to leave, gunfire erupted. Brent Holloway, covered in soot, stood outside with a flamethrower ready to torch the place. "I gave you every chance, Henry. You had to play hero." Ava was patching up Walter's bleeding leg. I crawled out the side, holding my granddad's old emergency flare. "You want the master file? Come take it." Brent grinned. Then real federal marshals stormed the clearing, lights flashing, guns drawn. A sniper shot the match out of his hand before he could burn us all. Brent was cuffed, hauled away, still cursing. "There's always another level," he hissed. "You'll never win." But we did. FBI charges for racketeering fraud, attempted murder. HOA dissolved, corrupt judges gone, development rights revoked. James and Nicole moved away, no one missed them. Ava and I rebuilt the barn, the community showed up with food tools, stories. A little girl told me, "My daddy says your ranch saved the whole county." I just smiled. We did. There's a new sign at the gate now, Collins Ranch since 1923, not for sale. We teach kids to ride, to fix things, to stand up. And that master file archived in Washington, but I keep a copy next to my grandfather's saddle, just in case. Because now they know you come from my land, you better be ready. I don't back down. Not anymore. So tell me, where are you watching from? Drop a comment. What would you have done? Is there ever a right side in a fight like this, or is it all just power and money? Let's hear it, because justice always finds a way.